and I mentioned the last podcast too, old guy Harvey, we can't kill mako sharks. There's more mako sharks now than there was when I was a kid. And we used to kill little tiny baby ones, and that's wrong. But they put limits in on them, and I think a female mako had to be 72 inches, which, that's a damn big mako shark. That's a difficult thing to do boat side, but people weren't discriminately killing them. And guess what? Longliners are still killing them because they're still soaking gear overnight.
Yeah.
So, he goes around bragging that he got mako sharks protected. I guess he forgot who made him famous buying his goddamn t-shirts, So good old Judas can do what he wants, but he can kiss my fat white ass. But anyway,
I knew we were going to end up here.
But the point I'm trying to make is this.
I would be remiss if I didn't bring up shark depredation. I mean,
Well, let's talk about this new act apparently that's been, I don't know if it's been signed into law, but it's been brought up for vote, the Shark Act. Mark, have you know anything about that?
I think I read something about it, but I really don't know much about it. Tell me about it.
I think it's the best I can understand. I read it a couple of times and just trying to understand it. It's very brief. It's just basically saying that they're going to allot some money to study shark depredation. In South Florida here, when you want to talk about South Florida, you can talk about the shark dive operations out of Jupiter and Palm Beach. You can talk about, the sandbar shark, which is protected and has been for a long time. And there's days where we can't catch a fish. The shark depredation is so bad, and it's in shallow water, it's in deep water, and if it's in shallow water, it's bull sharks, and now, well, off of Jupiter, it's bull sharks and tigers and lemons and Caribbean reef sharks, and these are all fish that we would very occasionally see over the last 25 years, but now it's like they got tiger sharks with names and so on and so forth. The guys out of Palm Beach catching sailfish. All my buddies that charter fish there at a sailfish marina tell me that some of them say some days 7 out of 10 sailfish get eaten after they get released. So there's no big crescendo on the surface, but they're sitting up in the bridge of the tower watching this tired, browned out sailfish swim away and get pummeled by a half a dozen bull sharks 20 feet down. There's no doubt that there are places in the world where sharks are in big trouble. The only sharks I ever see in Costa Rica on the Pacific coast are the pelagic threshers jumping. You don't see any other sharks. There's no sharks on the beach. I mean, you got a better chance to get bit by a croc if you're surfing than a shark. But I will say from Texas to Maine, the shark population is, I won't say out of control, but it's kind of out of control.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, we did it. We did it to ourselves.
Oh, 100%.
In the 90s, NOAA said that the swordfish and tuna fishery was over harvesting. So, hey, why don't we use shark? Why don't we do longliner for sharks? It's a great source of, and we did. We hurt them bad.
We hurt them bad. Yeah.
Really bad. But I think that they recovered a lot faster than anybody thought. The sandbar, because of the size of their fins, was such a valuable fish. Small fish with giant fins, the fins were worth more. And, they took a beating, but good golly, man, they are thicker than thieves out there. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Or the lemon.
The last time
got 2 fins, 2 dorsals.
Oh yeah. Well, no doubt. And like I said, a lemon shark in Southeast Florida, sure. In the Keys, there's tons of them, but now there's tons of them. I was talking with my old mate, Alex. He's running a boat out of Jupiter. He said the other day he had lemon sharks swimming around the boat. Yeah. They're just swimming around the boat.
If you go out of Jupiter, out to the reef, you go scuba dive, guaranteed sharks like lemon sharks will come check you out.
100%.
And they're very they've learned. It's a learned behavior. They hear a spear gun go off and they're coming. They know what that sound means.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
I was in the Keys for mini season, just a couple weeks ago, and I went out to a spot and I shot at a fish I missed. There was no Goliath groupers to be seen anywhere, nowhere. They were not there. And I shot at this fish and I missed. And all of a sudden I see 3 Goliath groupers and a nurse shark come rushing towards me. They know exactly what that sound is. And it's the same thing off the East Coast here, and yeah, the shark population has really rebounded like crazy. And as always is the case, it's a complicated issue,
very, very.
On one side of the story, the number of sharks that we have now is actually similar to what it used to be before we fucked it all up, right? But people, like, not a lot of people were alive then, right? That are alive now. So people don't remember those times. So, like, compared to what they remember, this is insane. Like, there's just an insane amount of sharks right now. And then when you add on top of that this learned behavior of them figuring out, like, oh, well, when there's fishermen around, there's easy snacks, right? We now have this, like, fucked up situation where the population is actually at a healthy place, but because of our own behavior and them learning that behavior, the problem is bigger than the population is, if that makes any kind of sense, right? So,
I'm not sure I agree with you, to be honest with you. I mean, again, I've been involved with. There's less commercial fishermen today, maybe more recreational fishermen, but I'm not just talking about South Florida. I'm talking about my buddies in North Carolina that commercial tuna fish. The guys in New England. I mean, geez, there's white. I mean, we're catching white sharks in Cape Cod now. I mean, I caught one. I couldn't believe it. It was kind of cool, but there's white sharks, there's poor beagle sharks, there's tons of them. It's not a, that those sharks aren't as big a deal, but I mean, the guys from mid New Jersey down, the guys trying to catch tunas, whether you're in 100 feet of water or 1,000 fathoms, um, they're getting everything crushed, and
yeah.
those guys were doing that in the 70s and 80s, and it wasn't that bad back then, and now it's like, you know,
Right. But
it just
you also have to keep in mind that these learned behaviors are things that, like, are passed down, right? Like, this evolves. Um those learned behaviors can be passed down from generation to generation in animals as well. Sharks that, sharks are born, and if the older sharks are doing it, they're going to learn from them, and so, like, over time they're going to get more tuned in to, to these learned behaviors. So it makes sense that it's continued to get worse. Um, but like, I don't really know what the answer is here. I don't know what the answer is in terms of, like, what do we do about it? It's definitely an issue that needs to be addressed. And there is a lot of shark depredation research that's being done. And in fact, there's a YouTube video on Swamp and Stomp that I did a few years back. A good buddy of mine that was in my lab when I was doing my PhD. He's been working on permit shark depredation down in the Keys. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with uh, what is it? Western Dry Rocks off of Key West. So there's a preserve out there, right? And so, like, you can go out there, you can't catch fish, right? Or you can't catch permit out there. You can't fish during certain times of the year because the shark depredation is so bad. So what do people do? They go, hang out right outside the boundary. They still catch their permit. Well, one of the issues that they started running into in the Keys is, like, permit fishing, like all the charters, everything. It was all catch and release, right? So it's like, oh, we're not killing the fish. We're just catching them and releasing them. Well, that might be the case, but how many of the fish actually make it to the boat, and how many of the fish that make it to the boat, get back to the school before they get hit by a shark? And so, this research, some of the worst research I've ever done, some of the hardest field work ever. We had to go out there with hook and line and catch permit all day. It was terrible, and so my buddy, he's like using sonar equipment to, like, look at, like, how the sharks are reacting when a fish gets hooked up, looking at different tackle options to see, like, is there a better way to, like, reduce the number of sharks that are able to take these fish. Um, lots of questions that they're trying to answer with that research. It led to some really awesome footage. You guys should check it out. It's pretty badass. But I think one of the days, I think we caught 20 permit or 21 or somewhere in that ballpark. Um, and of them, I think half of them got hit by sharks, and the ones that didn't get hit by sharks, like the ones that we actually got to the boat, they were getting chased by sharks. Um, but if you're using heavier tackle, so you can, like, whoop their asses and get them to the boat quick, your chances of getting that fish in are a lot better. Uh, so there's a lot of research going into, like, tackle restrictions. Like, are there different tackle restrictions that we can apply that can reduce shark depredation? But that's really specific to certain species. It doesn't really address the shark issue itself, right? Um, I think
I
that
mean, one issue I think that needs to be addressed is, there's a fella that had a shark permit, and he would shark fish. I think it was July after July 1st. He can come and do coastal shark long lining. He set small long lines, and an MFS observer on board every day. And he was the guy that actually the dive operation found his gear and balled it up. I don't know if you remember. It was on the news. They made a big deal out of it that they got this guy's illegal gear and he was killing sharks and blah 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 blah.
is it Mark,
Anyway, they wound
is it
up.
Mark the Shark?
No, 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 no. His name is, well, I'm not going to say his name. He's a commercial fisherman, not a charter fisherman.
Okay.
Not that guy. That guy's a caricature of But this was a commercial fisherman. He's a tile fisherman, grouper snapper guy, and he spent part of his year shark fishing. And for years and years and years, all the years I charter fished at Palm Beach, come July 1st, the shark guys came in, they long lined a little bit, they caught some bull sharks, they caught this and that, and they had a small quota. But again, learned behavior. The sharks got out of there. And now because of, again, voting with your heartstrings in the ballot box, oh, shark finning is bad. It's wiping out sharks. Well, now there's DeSantis signed into law. You cannot sell, import, or export any shark fins or shark products in Florida. So now there's no management. The management is leave them alone. And I can tell you, 30 years worth of being here, that it's unbelievable. I know, and I mentioned the last podcast too. Old guy Harvey, we can't kill mako sharks. There's more mako sharks now than there was when I was a kid, and we used to kill little tiny baby ones, and that's wrong. But they put limits in on them, and they put.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a female mako had to be 72 inches, which that's a damn big mako shark. That's a difficult thing to do boat side, but people weren't discriminately killing them, and guess what? Longliners are still killing them because they're still soaking gear overnight.
Yeah.
So yeah, he goes around bragging that he got mako sharks protected. I guess he forgot who made him famous buying his goddamn T-shirts, So good old Judas can do what he wants, but he can kiss my fat white ass. But anyway,
I knew we were going to end up here.
but the point I'm trying to make is this: it's like this knee-jerk thing. Like, no, the old thing is, sharks are sharks are a factor of a healthy ecosystem. 100%, I agree. I love those things. I think they're cool as hell. But at the same time, you factor in, learned behavior. There is a shit pile of them. We need to manage it just like every other fishery,
Yeah, no, I
but every,
100% agree with you. I think
yeah.
where we're at right now is like we've recognized the issue. The data that's been collected on it has not been focused on that issue, and that's where the focus is now. So I think we're going to start seeing more regulations put in place that allow for harvest of sharks. I think another issue too is like a lot of people don't want to harvest sharks. I don't think people realize how delicious shark meat actually is. Like
Oh yeah, no, 100%,
it's really good.
100%,
Like I used to keep black tips and stuff like when I was in college.
absolutely.
I love them. You know, but there's definitely sort of this like negative, like
Connotation.
like a stigma,
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I can't believe you killed a shark. Like you're a piece of shit, and it's like not
I'll
every
tell you,
is endangered, like
I'll tell you a good story. So, we catch the Atlantic sharp-nosed sharks, sometimes lots of them,
yeah.
while we're bottom fishing, and they're small. A fully grown adult is 4 feet long, and at first you were allowed to have 2 per vessel, and then they changed it to like 1 per person. But I didn't want to deal with them, so I would tell people, no, 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 just 2 per. If you wanted it, you can keep it. But there was a guy who was a subcontractor in the marina, and every day I would lay my fish out by species and everything. It was really cool, and I had a social media presence. It did well for my business. Well, he saw me laying these Atlantic sharp-nosed sharks out, which got filleted. They're already gutted, because tell people, listen, if you want to keep it, we're going to gut it and put it in a box, and it'll stop it from smelling like urea, and
Yeah.
be good to eat. Well, this guy went and complained to the marina management that, who the hell is this guy, killing baby sharks and everything. It's just, people are ill-informed. I wish he would have said something to me, because I'd been like, no, 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 that's a fully grown fish. And look, here it is, Of course, I went and had a word with him afterwards and explained to him what the deal was. But, it's just that type of thing. It's like, again, it's ill-informed people thinking they're being do-gooders, and, oh, there's no sharks, and, people that don't spend a day on the water. And like you said, you go to Jupiter, you don't need bait, you don't need chum, just change your RPMs and stop the boat.
Yeah.
And you'll get to see
No,
half a dozen species of sharks in no time.
Yeah, I mean, I think like the common theme here that keeps coming back with every one of these issues is misinformation. There's just so many people putting misinformation out on social media, and everybody thinks that they're an expert, and um, you said it at the beginning of the podcast, like I'm not one of these guys that's just like yelling trust the science between tequila shots, but to some degree I am saying trust the science. Like they're, in a lot of cases, like it's the best thing that we've got. And it's constantly improving. But when we have these ballot box biologists, people that think they're experts but don't know shit about what they're talking about, I know, like
And
they're
that's what I was referring to in the opening, by the way.
yeah, right. Like, but there are a lot of people that do know what they're talking about, but there's a lot of people that don't know what they're talking about, and it's really hard to differentiate between those people sometimes.